the most expensive item in your life for you and your family, and you're tying yourself up for a 30-year debt, would you trust a Uber driver to negotiate for you? And that's the reason why I was thinking like this is not gonna work. Like if let's say a sharp agent like yourself, Frank, come in contact with this agent, you're gonna eat that agent. Hello, everybody. This is Gary Yum here with Frank. Frank, how are you?
I'm doing well, Gary. How are you?
I'm great. So, what would you like to discuss today?
Well, in the news, and I'll try to keep this brief, but in the
Hmm.
news, uh, there was announcement that was just made that Redfin, which was purchased by Rocket Mortgage, uh,
Oh, they sold Redfin then.
they
Interesting.
sold Redfin. Rocket Mortgage bought Redfin, and the bottom line is, Redfin needed the financial support. They've been bleeding money for a very long time. I don't know if bleeding money, but they've just never taken off. Um, and since 2021, they've had layoffs year after year after year, and including they announced a layoff of another 500 employees. So the bottom line is you're 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 not if you're laying people off, you're struggling.
Yes,
And
yes.
if you've been doing it for the last 5 years in a row, you're struggling.
You are getting smaller and smaller. So, what is Redfin then? Let's
Okay,
see. Redfin's a website that offers you details on properties where you're looking to, let's say, buy, or you want to check out properties that are for sale, rentals. You can find all the information on Redfin, which is one of the many websites that offer this kind of information. This along with what Zillow, which is the most popular. What else?
Yeah, that's the app is a big part of it, and they've done a really good job of positioning themselves as, if I want real estate information, I go online and I go to Zillow or I go to Redfin. Uh,
Yeah, those were the two
so
major ones.
yeah, so they've done a good job of positioning themselves, but that wasn't the business model originally. The business model and the primary portion of the business model is let's hire uh, salaried agents. Let's pay them a
Oh,
salary,
that's when they
and
messed up.
and that's what I want to talk about today, Gary. It's a salaried. Why didn't that work?
Okay.
Why is you know that second time a company's tried to do that? Do you remember Purple Bricks?
Oh yeah, I think like 8 years ago they were like a big splash, and until there
Yeah, I can't
wasn't.
remember how long ago it was, but it was a while ago. And I remember I mean, they spent so much money during one of the Super Bowls.
Oh yeah,
Um,
when they first started back, well, I mean, I know that their peak was in 2017, and that's when we have, I think, our peak in prices in real estate pre-pandemic. We have to divide that because after pandemic, that's a different story. But pre-pandemic, 2017, as you might remember, is where we had the peak in real estate, and it kind of like flattened out in 2018, 2019, and people were kind of expecting a recession and a mini crash in prices. We're not going to delve more into why it didn't happen. Of course, because of the printing of money. But yeah, Purple Bricks, one of the major players, people were speculating that they would replace real estate agents because everything was going to be so easy. Everything's going to be on the one site where you can buy, sell real estate. That's
right,
the
and
promise.
they right, and they have salaried agent.
Yes.
Okay, so fast forward several years later, and they're gone. They're
Oh yeah.
gone. They don't exist. I don't even think if you were to Google purple bricks, I don't think that I'm not sure if they even exist at all, but they don't exist here in the US.
Doesn't
And
matter. I
and they,
think they went to Australia and
yeah,
UK. But
yeah, they ran back, to the Australia with their tail between their legs and lost a ton of money in the process. Okay, so that didn't work. So let's try it again through Redfin. And Redfin their business model is exactly the same thing. Let's hire agents, let's salary them so that they yeah, and I don't know why. I don't know why they felt or feel that.
Well,
Like,
Frank, I'm not sure you have it. I did actually met with a few Redfin agents in
okay,
throughout my career as I was doing showings, or just out there, or Redfin agents want to show some of my listings, and I
right,
did have the opportunity to talk to one of them in depth. She was a a mom, and she told me that, and I asked her like, hey, why do you chose um to work for Redfin as opposed to a traditional brokerage. And she told me that was for the flexibility. Not so much the flexibility of, like, oh, you can choose your own schedule. It's the flexibility that she knows for sure she's going to get a paycheck. That's the flexibility. So, and she gets paid for each showing that she does. I might be wrong on this, maybe like $100 for three showings. I mean, I might be off on the numbers, but it was something. It was a couple years ago, and if she does the closing, like three showings, $100, and if one of those showings was successful, she would get an additional like a commission split. So this commission, or no, not the commission, the compensation wise, $100 is not much. It's enough for you to get compensated for your gas and your time, but the real money comes when you close the deal. Now, she told me that very independently that she wasn't really looking towards the commission side because she wasn't trained for it. Obviously, she was trained only to show the property. And if for some reason the buyers want to buy, then she'll write the contract. But all she was doing the Uber work. That's her mindset. Now, think about it. You're buying, you're spending the most expensive item in your life for you and your family, and you're tying yourself up for a 30-year debt. Would you trust a Uber driver to negotiate for you? And that's the reason why I was thinking like this is not gonna work. Like if let's say a sharp agent like yourself, Frank, come in contact with this agent, you're gonna eat that agent for lunch. It's like there's no question about it. All the concessions, all the negotiations, the terms, everything's going to be on your client's favor, Frank.
well, right, and that's where it gets interesting because you picked a very interesting analogy of calling them, basically saying that they're, an Uber driver.
It
And
is.
and no, you're right about that because I remember that there was even at one point some discussion of, and I think it was Redfin was talking to Uber, and they were going to try to find real estate agents that are also Uber drivers, and yes, seriously, and because they wanted speed. Somebody calls and says, "Hey, I want to see this property." Okay, well, let's find an Uber driver that's
Let me
licensed.
finish my
You know,
delivery of this McDonald's order, and then let me go open
it,
this real estate.
yeah, I've
Yeah.
got I've got a house by the airport. I'm here close by. Let me drop off my client and I'll get over there right away.
Oh my
Um,
God.
so yeah, interesting analogy that you chose. But here's the thing: you're giving up. You're giving up the service that you would get from somebody who's, like you or me, who's, been doing this for a long time, experienced, takes and sees this as a profession. But the what you're getting in return is you're saving money. Um, the cost that Redfin charges to list a home is highly discounted compared to what, the norm is. And I've got to check to see what the average commission was in 2024, but in 2023, the average commission in the US was over 5%. And if you list a home through Redfin, you could list it. I mean, I've seen ads that say you could pay as little as 1%.
Hmm.
So that, and that was what Redfin I think was counting on is um let's find the home sellers that are willing to pay that are looking for that huge discount, um and let's match them with our Uber drivers. Um, so the bottom line, and to a certain extent, obviously it's worked because, Redfin is still in business. They didn't go out of business, so they're still in business. The, but, they've been struggling, and if they're laying people off, then, then it's not working. And the question is why? Why didn't that work? Um, why, why did they not replace us?
It's hard to replace a emotional purchase with discounted agents, mainly because there's a lot of information that needs to be explained, and you don't buy a house every day. Like the way they buy a pair of shoes. If it doesn't work out, fine, you buy a different pair. It is because the barrier of entry is so high right now. Like you hear that every day, people saying they cannot afford a house right now. Like it's getting harder each and every year because the rate of growth on the house is what 5%
Right,
year over year. So
right,
the barrier entry is so much, like you never be able to save enough to buy a house. That's the mindset right now. If you bought a house for $1 million this year, next year it's going to cost you $1 million and 50,000.
right,
that's that's more money that I had to save. And then you wait 3 more years, then that 50,000 extra is going to become 150. Actually, no, it's going to be 175 because 5% on top of the 5%. So
right.
that's the rate of growth. Now, if you think about all this, like you need a lot of information, a lot of explanation for you to feel safe that this is the right decision. No, buyer's remorse is a real thing, and it's scary when you're about to plunge all your life savings at any point of your life into this property, and the one explaining things to you don't know anything about anything except for how to drive over to open the door. Of course, it's not going to work.
So yeah, and actually on the buyer side, I think the way it worked is Redfin was promising the buyers they credit some of the commission back, but it's both buyer it all comes down to money. It all comes down to if you're going to sell your house, we'll charge you very little. If you're going to buy a house, we'll give you some of the commission back so you can
Yes,
use towards closing
there was a
costs.
little calculator in the bottom, like, hey, this is how much you'll be getting back, how much you'll be saving on the
Mm,
commission side. But the commission side is really little. Like, what is it used to be 3%, and then it's down to 1%. 1% of $1 million is what, 10,000?
right,
But you forgetting that you just spent $990,000. You tie yourself for 30 years with this property. Try to save a couple thousand. That doesn't make sense. I mean, and I hope people can see this for what it is. You're trying to save a couple pennies on a dollar. Really? You're tying your whole life, because 30 years is really a lifetime. Like, come on, by the time the 30 years are done, what else can you do with your life? It's really just to relax and chill. So you make that wrong decision to buy the wrong property, you are in a world of hurt. And you try to sell it. Oh my God, that's another thing. Like, who are you gonna go? Go back to Redfin? I was just going to sell your property then. Redfin again, the one who got you into this trouble, just so that you can save on those pennies and the dollars again. Like, does it make any sense? Any of this, you explain it in cents and dollars, you can see that this is really backwards thinking.
yeah. Well, and again, going back to Purple Bricks, you know their business model is based on uh, we will save you a few $1,000s on a huge decision.
Yes.
Um, and then you have to decide, do we, is our goal to cut corners and save a little bit of money,
Hmm.
or do we hire somebody that can help us make the best decision we can with the best information and the best negotiation, the best experience of knowing what to look out for, what pitfalls you're faced with, and when you look at it from that standpoint of your you know your it's you need somebody who's looking out for you. Saving a couple $1,000s obviously didn't fell flat. It
the
fell flat.
mar the market is a great equalizer of
Right,
value,
right.
and any of this, um, I would say gimmicks. Oh, we're gonna save a couple $1,000s. It's not gonna work in the long run because people value uh, things that can give them a better sense of security. And they value that human connection. Not so much like, oh, we care about our realtor. No, not so much about that. It's like, can you give me something that is
We don't care about the realtors.
we don't.
Well,
I'm very
yeah,
well
no,
aware of
well, of
that.
course, at the end of the day, they've got to make the best decision for themselves.
Yes, but we give the best information we can. Not so much advice. I'm not advising anything anymore. I give you all the information. You decide what is best for you and your family, and you find that reliable, and you find out that's worth it. Then yes, you make the decision. But when you give all that to the consumer that have no idea what they're doing, they don't do this every day, and most likely they will do it once in their lifetime. Like you only gonna do it once, maybe twice. I mean, buy a property. So really you're going to make that whole decision yourself because you can save a couple thousand to me is really really uncanny and really um and I think the market actually reflects that it's not working. It's not
Well,
working.
yeah, that's a great point, Gary, because you're right. The market is going to decide.
Yes.
Um, and I've been doing this for a while now. Yeah, I know you have too, but
Mhm.
I've been doing this for over 25 years, and I remember back when I first got into the business, a Help You Sell was around. And Help You Sell is that they're a discounted broker.
Oh, they
I
are
guess
around actually. They have one in the corner around my office, and they sell boxes for moving.
yeah.
Moving storage and yeah, moving and storage. They offer that, and on top of it, they help you sell.
Well, yeah, I mean, they've got to supplement the income somehow. But the
Yes.
bottom line is, um, discounted brokers, total discounted brokers. I'm not talking about just help you sell, but there are thousands, maybe millions of discount brokers out there, and they represent 4% of the total sales in the U.S.
Yeah.
So I mean, if it were a real huge if there were huge demand for that sort of business model, then they would represent a lot more than 4% of the market. So 96% of the market is saying, hey, I need somebody that I can like and I know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to pay a little bit more.
Hmm.
And at the end of the day, we're not charging a ridiculously high amount compared to the discounted brokers. Yes, we're more expensive, but at the end of the day, um, there's value in that,
True.
and there's value to the point where 96% of the sales in the country are through experienced, non-discounted brokers like you and me.
Mm. Frank, our time is up. But if people would like to know more about what is the value that Realtor offers and more about this, is how can they contact you?
The phone number 626-289-1111 or franklopezbroker.com.
For me, is people can search me at Gary Yao, Realtor Gary Yao. Frank, it's been a pleasure, and I talk to you next time.
Talk to you next time.